Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
sir.
okay, good. So let's start today's class. In this class, we are going to talk about the key management. As we have already seen in the earlier classes, that the management of keys plays a very vital role in cryptography. We have seen the moment we want to communicate in a secure manner, we can use the notion of the keys, the symmetric keys and asymmetric keys, right? So now the question arises that how exactly we are going to manage those keys, how we can manage those keys, and how exactly we can share those keys in between the parties, so that with the help of those keys the parties can communicate together. Okay, so all those details we are going to discuss in today's class. So to begin with, these are the outlines of today's lecture. First we will understand the need of KDC, which is your key distribution center. Then we will discuss how exactly we can create a session key with the help of your key distribution center, which is termed as KDC. Then we'll discuss how two parties can use symmetric key agreement protocol to create a session key. Thereafter, we will discuss a very famous protocol called as Kerberos, which can act both as a authentication protocol and as a key distribution center. Thereafter, I'll explain you the need of certification authorities to distribute the public keys, and then a concept of public key infrastructures will be introduced to you guys. So these are the outlines which will cover in today's lecture. So as we all are aware, very well aware that symmetric key cryptography is much more efficient than your asymmetric key cryptography. However, your asymmetric key cryptography is considered more secure than the symmetric key cryptography. But it depends upon the type of applications in which you are going to use the concept of this symmetric cryptography or asymmetric cryptography. If you want to have the faster encryption and decryption process, then definitely you can move towards the symmetric cryptography algorithms. And the moment you want to have the more security and you're not interested into the fast encryption or decryption process, then you can move towards the asymmetric cryptography, right? So in general, for the large amount of data in most of the applications, we use symmetric key cryptography, right? While the moment we have less amount of data in general, and we want to have more security in those applications, in general we use asymmetric key cryptography algorithm. So in case of your symmetric key cryptography, we need to have a shared secret key. Okay, and that shared secret key is valid for both the parties, right? Now the problem is how exactly that particular shared secret key is passed in the beginning to both the parties. So this is one of the major problem or the challenge. Okay, so let us see how exactly we can pass the shared secret key between the parties who are interested for the communication, secret communication. Okay, so this is typically done with the help of your key distribution center. Initially, uh, in a typical system, when we consider your symmetric key distribution, and let's say we have got n number of people and they want to exchange confidential messages. Okay, so in that case, for n number of people, the total number of keys which will be required is going to be your n into n minus 1. Okay, and this is normally referred as the n square problem, because the number of required keys here for n entities is n square, which is quite large. Apart from that, creation of that many number of keys is not the only problem. How exactly we are going to exchange those many number of keys with those many people, those many number of people is also one of the key challenge. So in order to overcome those two major challenges, we can use this particular concept called as a key distribution center, okay, which plays the role of an intermediator in between the parties. Okay, so in this particular concept, a secret key is established between your KDC and all the other members. Okay, and we call these keys as, or we denote these keys, these secret keys which has been established between the users and the KDC by these expression: K Alice, K N, K Ted, Bob, K George, and K Betsy. So these are the notations of denoting the secret key which has been established in between the users and the KDC. So what happens the moment, let's say Alice wants to communicate or wants to exchange few secret messages with Bob. So in that case, Alice has to have the secret key of Bob, shared secret key. Okay. So in that case, what Alice will do, Alice will first send a request to KDC stating that she needs a session key in between herself and Bob. Okay. And then what KDC will do, KDC will inform the same to Bob that Alice is interested to exchange a secret message with you. Okay. And in case if Bob accepts the request, then a session key is created in between Alice and Bob with the help of KDC. So this is the general working mechanism of your key distribution center, where KDC plays the role of intermediator for any communication to establish any sort of shared secret key in between the users. Okay. So this is a typical example. And of course, the moment we talk about more number of users or the number of users increases with time, then it may possible for a single KDC that the key management will become a difficult task for the KDC center. So the moment the load is heavy, it will become quite unmanageable for KDC, and of course a bottleneck or single point of failure may occur. So in order to solve this particular problem, a concept of flat multiple KDCs can be used. So over here, instead of putting all the load onto a single KDC, a number of KDCs have been created. Okay, and of course now the load will be distributed among these KDCs. Fine. And now let's say we have got two parties, again Alice and Bob, and the moment Alice needs to communicate with Bob, and as we can see, Alice is currently connected with KDC 1 while your Bob is connected with your KDC N, right? So in that case, what will happen? First, Alice will contact her KDC, which is KDC 1, which in turn will contact your nth KDC. Okay, because the Bob is in this domain. Okay. Now, with the help of these two KDCs, which will have the intermediate communication, a shared secret key will be established between Alice and Bob. Okay. So this is how the flat multiple KDCs work, where we distribute the load, and of course the redundant KDCs can be placed to avoid the bottleneck or to avoid the failures. Now, in order to have the better efficiency, this can be rearranged into hierarchical multiple KDCs. So again, the concept is same. We have got number of KDCs to distribute the load, but here the KDCs have been arranged into a particular hierarchy. We can see that some local KDCs have been placed, have been arranged, then those have been arranged with the help of national KDCs, and in turn later they have been arranged with international KDCs. Okay, so let's say in this particular hierarchy, Alice needs to communicate with Bob. So in that case, first Alice will relay a request to local KDCs, then local KDCs will relay Alice request to national, then the national KDCs will relay the request to international KDCs, and the same flow will also will be carrying on in this part as well, and that way Alice will be able to get the shared secret key of Bob. So this is how the hierarchy of multiple KDCs work in this particular arrangement. Now, the session keys. A KDC creates a secret key for each member, and this secret key can be used only between the member and the KDC, not between the two parties, okay, or the two members. We are talking about this particular thing, okay. The secret key which has been established in between the user and the KDC will be used in between these two only, okay, and this particular key will not be valid for any other communication, okay. However, the established shared secret key between the two parties will be valid for that particular session only, and in between those users and only for whom the key has been generated. Okay. Now, as I told you, a session symmetric key between the two parties is used only once and is valid only for that particular session. Okay. So now let's see how exactly we can create a secret session key in between the two parties. So this is a very simple protocol which makes use of KDC to create a session key or a shared secret key. Okay. So as we can see in this particular diagram, we have got two parties, Alice and Bob, and one KDC is also there. So first of all, what Alice will do? Alice will send the identity of herself along with the identity of Bob to KDC. So over here, the KDC will identify their identities, and thereafter KDC will send this particular piece to Alice. And what exactly this particular piece is? So first in this piece, a ticket is there. Okay, this is a ticket, and this is a this ticket has been encrypted with this particular key. So in actual, what KDC has sent to Alice is, first KDC has created a shared secret key in between Alice and Bob. Okay, this is the shared secret key in between Alice and Bob. Then along with this shared secret key, the identity of Alice and Bob has been read, and then all these three information has been encrypted with the help of the key of Bob. That means only now the Bob will be able to read out this particular piece of code, right? Since this particular information has been encrypted with Bob's public key, okay, or Bob's secret key. Only Bob can read this one. Fine. Now this particular ticket has been read along with the shared secret key. Means this is the second copy. It is same as this one. Okay. One has been encrypted with the help of Bob's key, and other has been kept open for the use for Alice. So in this case, this shared secret key along with this particular ticket has been encrypted with the help of Alice key. Okay, that means only the Alice will be able to decrypt this particular message. So after decrypting, what Alice will get? Alice will get the shared secret key or the session key. Okay, session key of Alice and Bob. And with the help of this session key, now Alice is able to send this particular ticket to Bob. And the moment Bob gets this particular ticket, he will be able to get the shared secret key. And then later on, this particular shared secret key can be used for the further communication for that particular session. Okay, so this is how a simple protocol works using a KDC. Okay. Now, of course, this also suffers from man in the middle attack because any person can impersonate any party. Okay. Now, in order to prevent that man in the middle attack, Needham and Schroeder has proposed a protocol which has been named after their name only. So let us see what happens in this particular protocol. Okay. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in this particular protocol, again we have got two parties, and the third party is your KDC. In the first place, Alice sends the identity of herself and the identity of Bob. That means Alice sends the information to a party to whom she wants to have the communication, a secret communication. And along with that, a random nonce is also being sent to KDC. In the earlier lecture, when we were discussing about your identity authentication, over there we have discussed the importance of your random nonce. Okay, and with the help of random nonce, you were able to authenticate, or you were able to prove the identity of any party, right? So I'm not discussing that thing again, since we already discussed in the earlier classes. If you just cannot recall that, then we can follow the earlier videos. So over here, Alice is sending her identity and the identity of the person to whom she wants to exchange a secret message, right? Along with the random nonce. Okay. And after receiving all these three values, what KDC does, KDC creates a ticket, okay, along with the shared secret key, identity of Bob, and a random nonce which has been created by Alice, which has been sent by Alice to KDC, is again being written. Okay. So in this particular box, the things which are there are the random nonce which has been sent by the Alice to KDC. It includes that, then the identity of Bob, then the shared secret key in between Alice and Bob, and another copy is being encrypted along with the identity of Alice with the help of Bob's secret key. Okay. So again, two copies of your shared secret key has been created. One has been encrypted with the Bob's key along with the identity of Alice. Okay. And this particular ticket will be presented to Bob for further authentication. Okay. So now all these things have been encrypted with the help of Alice key. That means only Alice can open this one, and Alice can only read this one. And the moment after decrypting this code, Alice will receive your RA. That means the nonce which has been sent to KDC is again returned back to Alice. So that way Alice will be able to know that this particular piece of code is coming from the valid person or the KDC only. Okay, since his originally generated nonce has come back to her once again. Okay, and this time she also received the shared secret key or session key of Bob. So with the help of this particular key, now Alice will be able to communicate with Bob. Okay, so with this key, this particular ticket for Bob has been sent to Bob. Okay. Now, in order to authenticate himself, now Bob sends a random nonce with the help of a received shared secret key. Okay, this is the same key. KAB is the same key which was there. Okay. So with the help of this shared secret key, now the random nonce of Bob is being sent to the Alice, and now Alice is responding back to the Bob with the received random nonce of Bob. Okay. In order to avoid the replay attack, this particular random nonce is manipulated by some expression. Over here, this particular random nonce has been subtracted by 1. So this has been done just to reduce your replay attacks. Okay. So this is how both the parties can prove themselves. Okay. And this is how the role of KDC happens in this overall communication for rhythm schedule protocol. So I hope this particular algorithm is or this protocol is clear to all of you. Okay, is it clear to all of you?
Yes,
I
sir.
want, okay, I want few more responses.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So now I'll assume that you understood this particular protocol, okay, through which we are able to share the session keys in between the two parties, two intended parties. Now we have got one more protocol known as O2A reach protocol. It is same as the previous one, means the purpose is same. However, the difference is rather than contacting to the KDC at the first place, now the Alice will contact to Bob directly. Okay, and in this particular in this first contact, the information which is being passed to Bob are the identity of the Alice, the identity of the Bob, and a common nonce. This is a common nonce, okay, which will be known to both the parties. Then all these three information will be encrypted with Alice secret key, and this will also include a random nonce unique to Alice. Okay, so apart from these three, one more information has been added and then encrypted with the Alice secret key, and then the whole piece is sent to the Bob. Now, what Bob is doing? Bob is also assuming his random nonce termed as RB, and then the identity of Alice, the identity of Bob, and the common nonce along with the nonce of the Bob. All this information has been encrypted with the Bob's key and along with the received information from Alice. This particular encrypted piece with the Bob's key is also being sent to the KDC. This particular received code from Alice over here means this ticket, and then the ticket generated from Bob, both the ticket has been sent to the KDC. Okay, and with the help of these two tickets, now KDC is generating two new tickets. Okay, the first ticket, which is meant for the Alice, includes the session key, shared session key in between Alice and Bob. Okay, along with the nonce of Alice, and this particular piece of code has been encrypted with the shared the secret key of Alice, and over here the shared secret key along with the nonce of Bob has been encrypted with the secret key of Bob. That means this piece will be decrypted by Bob only, and this piece of code will be decrypted by Alice only. Okay, along with these two tickets, a random nonce is again being sent to the Bob. So Bob, with this particular communication, Bob will be able to know the shared secret key. Okay, and since Bob has again received his nonce back, that means this particular communication is coming from the legitimate center only. Okay, and then this shared secret key will be used to communicate with Alice. Okay, and this particular ticket will be presented to Alice. Since this particular ticket was meant for Alice and has been encrypted with the help of Alice key, so only Alice will be able to decrypt this one. And the moment Alice decrypt this particular ticket, she will be able to have the shared secret key along with her assumed random nonce. So with the help of this assumed random nonce, Alice will be able to know that Bob is a legitimate party and she can begin the communication. Okay, so this is how with the help of this received shared secret key the further communication can take place. So this is another way of doing the same thing, and this particular protocol was introduced by your O2A reach. Okay, so I hope you have got this concept. Now there is another very important protocol called as Kerberos, and Kerberos is an authentication protocol, and it is same as your KDC. Means sometimes it also works as a KDC, and it is very popular. And this particular protocol has been included in Windows 2000 as well. Okay, and it was designed by MIT, and initially it was named after three-headed dog in Greek mythology that guards the gate of heads. So although there are many versions of this Kerberos, but in this particular lecture we are going to discuss the most famous version of Kerberos, which is version 4. Okay. So in this protocol we have got number of servers. Rather than having a single servers in this protocol, we have got number of servers. So let's discuss each one of them. Then we'll discuss the operations and how exactly those servers works, and what is the difference between the version 4 and version 5 and all. So all those things will be discussed. So this is the general overview of the Kerberos server. Okay. So as you can see, now the KDC has been divided into two intermediate servers: authentication server and ticket granting server. Okay, and now Bob is our actual server. So in short, we have got three servers: authentication servers, ticket granting servers, and the original server will request, which will process all the requests received from any client or any user. Okay. So authentication server is the KDC in this particular Kerberos protocol. This is the actual KDC, authentication server. And with this KDC, each user needs to register, and the moment each user registered with this KDC, a user ID and password is granted to each user. Okay. So of course, AS is going to maintain a database which will include the identities of all the persons, and of course will have the corresponding passwords. So before the commencement of any communication, AS will verify the user, and then AS is going to issue a session key in between the user and the TGS. Okay, over here the session key or the shared session key directly in between the Alice and Bob will not be issued. Okay, rather the shared secret key in between the Alice and TGS will be issued first. Okay, then your ticket granting server, it issues a ticket in between your Alice and your actual server. Okay, so in Kerberos, they have separated the user verification process, okay, from issuing the tickets, and then they have separated the later part. So this way, what will happen? The user needs to verify him or her only once, and the moment the verification happens, then the later part of communication can be done again and again by presenting the tickets of the intended person. Okay, for example, we have got 10 users, and in this particular mechanism, the one user needs to identify or need to prove his or her identity only once to this particular authentication server. Okay, and the once a user has proved his or her identity, then in the later part, that particular person can communicate or can place a request for the communication for any user with the help of the ticket which has been granted by the AS. Okay, and that ticket will be for TGS. Fine. So this has been the real purpose between this for this particular split. Now, as I told you, this is the real server who will serve all the requests. Okay. So in the first place, a request ticket for TGS will be placed by the Alice. Then Alice TGS session key and the ticket for TGS will be sent back to the Alice. Okay, and with the help of this particular session key, now the Alice can contact TGS. Okay, and how TGS will allow Alice? TGS will allow Alice with the help of this particular ticket, which will be meant for TGS. Okay. Then thereafter, Alice can put a request, okay, for the Bob that she needs to communicate with Bob. Okay, so please issue me the ticket of Bob. So in the response of this particular request, now the TGS will send back the session key of Alice and Bob, and of course a ticket which is meant for the use of Bob. Okay, so with the help of this ticket, now the Bob can ensure the identity of the Alice. Okay, and of course with the help of this particular session key, Alice is able to communicate with the Bob. Okay, so the moment Bob receives this particular ticket, the access can be granted immediately. So this is the general overview of the overall process. Okay, so I request all of you to please give a close look to this particular flow, so that we can discuss the much more complicated flow. Okay, so I hope all these 6 steps are pretty much clear to all of you. Now, as I already explained the role of all the servers to you, authentication server, the authentication server is the KDC in the Kerberos protocol, and TGS is responsible to issue a ticket for the real server, and the real server is the one who provides the access services to the intended users, right? So this is the detailed working of your Kerberos. Okay. So as we have discussed that in the first place, first user needs to register with the AS, and the moment a user is registered, then a user can commence a particular request. So over here, Alice tries to communicate with Bob. Okay, and for that communication, Alice has to have a shared session key, right? So first Alice will communicate with AS, and then this AS will send back the ticket to Alice. Okay, this is the ticket. Okay, and the moment Alice present this particular ticket to TGS, only then the further communication will be possible. Okay, so this is the ticket through which Alice can communicate with TGS. Okay, and this is the session key in between your Alice and TGS. Okay, again there are 2 copies. Okay, so with the help of this particular session key, now the Alice can contact your TGS. Okay, and this particular ticket will be valid only in between your authentication server and your ticket granting server. So in short, the moment Alice makes a request to authentication server, a ticket for TGS and a session key is passed to the Alice with the help of this session key. Okay, and which is the session key for the communication in between Alice and TGS. So the moment Alice receives this particular session key, now Alice can make a request to TGS for the ticket of Bob. Okay, so over here, our ticket, Miss Alice is sending a request that she needs a ticket of Bob, and of course, our timestamp is being sent. Okay, at what time that Alice has initiated the request. So this particular request has been encrypted with the session key, which has been just received in the previous round. Okay, in the previous step. So this has been encrypted with the shared secret key, and the received ticket is presented to TGS. And the moment TGS received this particular ticket, this particular access is granted to TGS. Okay. Now TGS can come to know, okay, that Alice needs to communicate with Bob, or Alice wants to exchange few secret message with Bob. Okay. Now, what TGS will do? TGS will issue a shared session key for Alice and Bob. Okay, and of course, our ticket for Bob for authentication purpose will also be issued. Okay, so this is the ticket which will be presented before Bob in order to prove the authenticity of overall process along with the shared secret key. Okay, and the identity of Bob, and this particular thing can be decrypted by the Alice. Okay, so after the decryption, now the Alice will be having the shared secret key in between Alice and Bob, right? So with the help of this key, now Alice will present this particular ticket to Bob. Okay, and along with this particular communication, Alice is also sending a timestamp. Okay, a timestamp is also being sent so that the replay attack can be prevented. Okay, so this is how Alice is now sending the request to Bob, and this particular ticket will be presented to Bob in order to prove the authenticity of the oral process. And then she will reply back, the Bob will reply back this particular SGM timestamp, and this will ensure that the oral process has not been replayed and the man in the middle attack is not being taken place. So this is the overall process of your Kerberos. Okay, so I hope this particular thing is clear to all of you. This is very important protocol and very widely being used. Okay, and it is also open source in nature. Okay, so so if Alice needs to receive services from different servers, she need repeat only the last 4 steps, and this has been explained to you earlier as well, because the authentication will be done only once, and once the authentication is done, then the rest of the steps will be different for different persons or different actual servers. Okay, now there are minor differences between the currently used version 4 and the version 5. This is most popular version. Okay, nowadays we can also have the version 5. So the differences between these two versions are version 5 has longer ticket life, and it allows ticket to be renewed, and any symmetric key algorithm can be used, and it uses a different protocol for describing data types. So these are the typical differences. You can read it out. Okay. Not much. So I hope these things are clear. These are young servers allow the global distribution of authentic servers and TGS, just the things to remember. Okay. Means over here we can have the number of Kerberos, and each Kerberos will be having their own authentic servers, TGS. Okay. So here we are talking about number of systems, and each systems will be having their own authentication servers and ticket granting servers. Okay, and of course the communication in between those servers or those two different systems can be placed. So I hope these things are clear, and there are a lot of things which are yet to discuss. Okay, so let me start few things, and maybe I'll continue with the things in the next class. Now, let us talk about symmetric key agreement. Alice and Bob can create a session key between themselves without using a KDC, and this method of session key creation is referred to as the symmetric key agreement. And this particular part has been discussed in the class earlier. Okay, where without the use of KDC, the session keys are being created. Okay, if you recall this particular agreement protocol, Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, right? So this is the example of this one only, where without using a KDC, we are actually passing a shared, or you can say the session key. Okay. So I guess there is no need to discuss this particular protocol once again. since we have already discussed this protocol in detail in the earlier classes, right? So I will skip this part. Okay, is that fine to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Any other responses?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll skip this part. This is quite simple. And with the help of Diffie Hellman protocol, now a session key can be exchanged in between the two intended parties, right? And this is going to be your shared secret key. And as I have already explained you in the class, that this particular algorithm can be compromised with the man in the middle attack or meat in the middle attack, right? So that particular vulnerability can be solved. This is the example, okay, which we already discussed in the earlier classes. So I'm not going to discuss this example once again. This is the another way of representing the problem. And of course, we have discussed the security of Diffie Hellman problem, that it offers a discrete logarithmic problem. Yeah, this one I was interested in, that man in the middle attack. So this particular attack can be, yeah, over here you can see that now Eve is impersonating the Alice. So over here, the Eve is communicating with the Bob and behaving like Alice. So this particular your Diffie Hellman key exchange protocol do suffer from man in the middle attack. So that particular type of attack can be resolved or can be addressed with the help of station to station key agreement. I hope all of you do remember what was the Diffie Hellman key exchange protocol and the problem of man in the middle attack, right? So that particular problem now can be addressed with the help of station to station key agreement. Since all of you have studied the concept of digital signatures, right? We do have studied digital signatures and the various schemes used for digital signatures. So those schemes can be used over here in order to prove the authenticity of the persons who are going to exchange a shared secret key. Okay, so in this particular agreement, again a random number R1 is calculated. Here G is your generator, and again X is your assumed variable. In the earlier cases it happened to be A, and in this case it is X. So this particular value is being calculated. Let's say this is R1. So after calculating R1, this is being passed to Bob. Okay, and Bob again assumed a random number called as Y. Okay, and then this particular value is being calculated. Okay, and then a key is generated. A shared key is generated by raising R1 with the power Y. Okay, now with this generated shared key, or this particular generated shared key is now being sent to Alice with the help of a digital signature. Okay, because this particular key is now being signed with the help of Bob's private key. Okay, and it includes the identity of Alice, R1 and R2. All these three values have been concatenated and then being signed with the help of Bob's private key. Okay, and this way Alice will come to know that this particular message has been sent from Bob only, since this particular message has been signed with the Bob's private key. Okay, and this is R2, which was publicly announced. Okay, along with the public key of Bob. Bob's certificate is nothing but the Bob's public key. Okay, so the moment anybody has got the Bob public key, he or she can verify that this particular message is coming from the Bob. Okay, so now the Alice will be able to generate the shared secret key. Okay, now the Bob's signature can be verified at Alice end, and then the same can be done by Bob. Okay, so in the edge step, now the Alice is sending her public key along with this particular piece of code which has been again signed by Alice private key. Okay, so that means the moment Bob decrypt this particular piece of code with the help of Alice public key, he will come to know that this particular thing has been sent or originated from Alice only. Okay, so this way Alice will verify Bob's signature and Bob will verify Alice's signature, and a shared secret key will be established in between these two parties. Okay, so I hope this particular agreement is pretty much clear to all of you. So these are the things which we have discussed in the today's class. So since time is there, so I'll end this lecture, and in tomorrow's lecture we'll discuss the concept of public key distribution, and in this particular topic we are going to discuss the how exactly we can announce public keys, then what is the role of your trusted centers, and what is the control trusted center certificate authority, and how exactly the certificate looks like, what is the format, and then the role of public key infrastructure. Okay, so all this concept we'll discuss in tomorrow's class. So I hope all the things are clear to all of you. In case if you've got any doubt, then you can ask me. I'm open to your questions. Any question, guys? I cannot hear any response.
No, sir.
Okay. Any other responses?
No, sir.
Okay. So now I'll assume that all the things are pretty much clear. So now I'll end this class. Let's meet tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.